Welcome back to the channel. This is Wasabi. This is another version of the equipment guide, and this one will focus on light tanks and the equipment available for them and the choices you've got, which we'll go through. We're going to start with the T50-2. I'm just going to put a crew in it. So previously, in the other versions, we put basic vanilla crews in with no skills, but I'm going to put my LT432 crew in. Just deciding, is that be the right one? It has, okay. All right, so the only difference is that the LT432 has got a 3-man crew, so they've been developing faster. The original crew I had was in the LTDB, so there'll be a slight penalty on camo, but just wanted to see what sort of maximum effect we can get from the camo and view range stuff. So if we have a quick look at the crew, the commander has got radio skills, so rather than choosing recon, choose situational awareness because it gives you a larger bonus, and it's not fully kitted out there at 68%, but you can live with that for the moment. They've all got camo apart from full camo except for the LTDB loader who's only got 19%. Anyway, let's launch into the equipment. So again, go to the equipment view. We'll choose the filter based on the recommended one for the priority slot, which in this case is scouting. So we'll click on the all-seeing eye there, which I assume that's what that represents. And you'll see we've only got limited choices here. Some of these we've already gone through in previous videos, but let's just cover them quickly. So probably there's two different styles of scouting, passive and active. And in fact, sometimes people who actively scout want to get the benefit of what you can get with passive scouting, that is longer view range and better camo, as in camo net and binocs. However, if you do mount those, they don't activate until you've been stationary for 2 to 3 seconds. So sometimes you'll get spotted moving into position, or otherwise you have to wait for the effect of that equipment to start when you're in a position. So you don't, if you're getting forward to a command position on the map, you won't have full effectiveness of that, particularly while you're on the way to that spot. So if you're an active player or an active scouter, then you want to have coated optics because they operate all the time. So the new thing there with camo, however, is that the low noise exhaust system, which is available, gives extra bonus to light tanks. And if we put that in the slot, it'll give us 8% to concealment, so it's an additional 8% factor. So that's in addition to the camo on the tank plus the camo skills of the crew. Whereas coated optics would normally have 10%, but if we put in this slot, it gives us another 1.5% view range. So let's have a look at both. We'll start with coated optics. We don't have any items in there. I'll just close down these to make them a bit more focused on the scouting functions. So if we put coated optics in first, we can see that the view range has increased by 43, which is 10% of the, 11.5% of the base that it had in there. Plus, we've got an additional 8 from the situational awareness. So that would have been there, the 8 would have been there from before we added the coated optics, of course, because that's coming from the crew. And if we put that and then say put, well, you could put camouflage net in if you want to get the maximum camouflage. But again, if you're active scouting, which it indicates, if you're choosing coated optics, you're going to be an active scout. So let's go and put low noise exhaust system in the second slot. And you can see that the camo's been boosted quite substantially. It's gone up from 20 odd to 34, and that's getting that additional 6 from the low noise exhaust system. So 34 is actually not bad. Again, the crew is not fully camoed up, but they're getting just under 10 bonus from the concealment skill, which probably be around 12 to 15. And if we want to simulate that, we can always add a directive. We probably don't do this, but if you do, we won't do that. But if you do add a directive, you can add for crew, you can choose So I'm just finding it, natural cover, which gives the bonus of full camo skills to the crew. So if we put that in there for the moment, and just have a look at the difference there, the directive is giving another 1.46. So on top of 10, 11.5%, 11.5 is roughly 12 what we'd expect if the crew's got full camo skill. So just to give you an idea of the effect of that. So let's go back to equipment. Again, we'll pull back scouting, put our coded optics in there and low noise in the second slot. And then you've got a choice of what you want to put in the third slot. And here, given this particular setup, say going for active scouting, we might go for mobility. So let's select that. And it's only giving us a few more choices, so we don't need to clear the other filter out. But you can see we're getting the choice of improved rotation mechanism or turbocharger. It's probably the two big choices there. We talked about this in the medium tank video. But for a scout, you just got to balance the notion of, do I want to arrive faster at a spot or get out of a spot faster, and therefore choose the turbocharger and just get a bonus to basically acceleration and speed, or do I want to get the ability to shoot on the move with the dispersion reduction from the improved rotation, and also the more sort of nimble nature of the vehicle. So if we say put improved rotation mechanism in, actually, look, we just cancelled out our initial choice. So if we put that into the slot there, you can see that it has a minor impact on mobility. Well, it appears to have a minor impact on mobility, which is the increased traverse speed, and also has an impact on firepower because it's got an increased gun traverse speed. So that may well be a choice that you would consider. And if we put low noise exhaust system in to the slot, so that's a combination of improved optics, the improved rotation mechanism, and the low noise exhaust system. And you can see overall that's got quite a handy sort of difference to the tank. But if we look at this the other way around, and if let's put low noise exhaust system into the priority slot and swap the coded optics out, and just remember we had 421 view range, which is not the maximum that you probably want to get. Probably you want to get at least to 445 to start burning into the effective camo of opposition tanks. But if we say, all right, well, if we're not getting to 445 anyway, maybe we switch and put the low noise exhaust system in the priority, and our concealment factor goes up a fraction. So we're getting basically an extra 2 on there. So it went from 34 to 36. So that's probably a marginal difference in the overall camo. Obviously this would be improved if it was a full camo skill crew, but I would say the loss of view range is probably more important than the increase in camo that you're getting as that particular bonus. So I would tend to leave the optics in the priority slot. So again, it's really just a bit dependent on what your requirements are as a player. Now, again, if we were going to do this as a passive scouter, again, to see which ones get the most benefit, and again, we'll just bring this back to scouting, only the ones that have got a bonus showing, so a highlighted thing, will actually give you a bonus. Now, fortunately, all these choices do. The only reason low noise exhaust system's not showing that here is because we've already got it selected in another equipment slot. So it's not saying that you're going to get a bonus because you're not using it. But if we say, all right, we're going to go passive and we're going to put binocular telescope on there, you can see our view range has jumped up to 481. And we can decide to keep the low noise exhaust system because, again, you're getting coverage for that additional camo value as you're heading towards the spot that you're going to. However, if you tend to have safe ways of getting to spots that you're going to take position up, then you're quite happy to replace that with camouflage net. And you can see that you're getting that additional bonus on the camo, going from basically 6 to 10. So you're getting another factor of 4 on the camo from the camouflage net. So that's pretty much your choices then at that tier for or the effect that it has at that tier. It's probably the choice are going to be similar to the tier 8, but let's go and have a look at the tier 8 and see how this might differs. So let's cancel out of that and go and pick the tank, and we'll pick our LT432, put the crew back in, and you can see we've already got equipment selected for this, so we'll have a look at what that particular pretty standardized choice gives you. Again, active scouting, so we're set up with the coded optics and the vents, but we've also got the vertical stabilizer, so you can basically shoot on the move with more accuracy. But that vertical stabilizer is not giving us any bonus being in that slot. So this is one thing, as you're coming to tanks that already have equipment selected for it, you need to make a decision, am I getting the most advantage out of that particular choice there? So if we just think about that for a second, simply moving the coded optics into that slot will give us the additional bonus from that one. And you can see we've gone from, actually didn't show the previous one, so it had 442 now with the extra bonus, whereas if we switch that with vertical stabilizer, that drops back to 436, so you're getting an additional 6 bonus there. But again, if we're getting a bonus, you may as well take advantage of it. So if we basically put coded optics in there, and we can look at our other slots now. Again, if you've got vertical stabilizer available to you, you're getting 20% reduction all the time on the hull movement or the turret movement. However, again, if you're choosing vertical stabilizer because you want that advantage, you would probably want to consider improved rotation mechanism, whereas you reduce the benefit there. And so we'll just demount that and have a look. But we're still getting 10% or half of the dispersion factor of the vertical stabilizer, but we're getting an additional bonus to turret traverse and to vehicle traverse. So again, that might factor into your decision making as to whether you deploy that into a vehicle. And then we've got the final choice here of vents, and if we have a look at our concealment factor, we're on 37, which again is pretty reasonable. We've got camo from the tank camouflage. We've got the vents are giving us 0.75 on top of that, and then we've got a fully trained crew, so we've got just under 15 for the crew skills. But if we say, all right, well, we can take the hit on all the other factors, so things like firepower is going to reduce if we take the vents out. It's going to affect our aim time, dispersion, the gun loading time, etc. And it will also affect the concealment to a small amount. You can see there that the vents is giving us that 0.75. So we're going to reduce everything a little by taking the vents out, but if we choose that, and let me just also highlight one thing here. So we can select a thing up here and automatically replace the thing in that slot. Sorry, once we select it. You can choose from icons here to demount it or destroy it. We can also choose down here on this submenu, but I'll just ask you to be careful. Destroy and demount to depot are very close together, and they both start with D. And I believe on some screens they even change position. So I'll just be very careful if you're choosing demount that you don't accidentally choose destroy. There's probably a screen there to ask you to confirm, but yeah, just be very, very careful with that one. So we will demount that, pay the tax on that, and then we will say, all right, well, why don't we put in, let's go back to our solutions here and put in low noise exhaust system. So what's the effect on concealment there? Goes up over 40, which is an excellent result. So it's much bigger improvement than the amount that Vents was giving us. Our view range is a little bit less. We're not getting that additional amount from the view range. So again, it's a factor that you wouldn't make a decision on. But yeah, has affected the dispersion a little bit, but I think I didn't check the details, but I don't think it's changed a great deal. If it's only around 0.36 anyway with the vents in there, and it hasn't changed our DPM a great deal overall, but probably not enough that you would notice, I would think. But again, this is personal preference. You can always come and change this later on if you don't like it. Now, you do get one other choice here. So again, it's going to come down to sort of how aggressive a player you are, I would think. It's the difference between the commander's vision system benefit to you and the low noise exhaust system. So again, this is something you could put in the priority slot for the particular tank. The only reason this is showing is because we're in a tier 8 light tank or medium tank, but we could choose commander's vision system, and this is basically going to help reduce the concealment of enemy vehicles behind foliage or their concealment while they're moving. So, going across open ground. And that again may be more benefit to you probably on certain maps, I would think, but nonetheless it's something to consider, that whether you want to use that instead of low noise exhaust system. So you will lose the benefit of the concealment that low noise is giving to you, but it will help you penetrate the concealment that your enemy is having. So again, I think something you're going to have to experiment with and see. We'll probably see more detailed guides come out on the choice there as to what you have. So that's sort of it for the choices for light tanks. There's probably a whole lot more detail to give you. Probably one other thing just to look at is this item here. If one thing you're really trying to get out of your scouting is additional assisted damage, then this is something that might help you. So it's got two benefits to it: an extra 1.5 seconds to the duration to which an enemy vehicle is lit. So once it has been lit, then it stays up another 1.5 seconds, and then when you're lit, it reduces the time that you're lit. So if you consider that the standard duration, once you're lit and the line of sight breaks, you're still visible to all tanks on the map for another 10 seconds, then this is going to reduce that to 8.5 seconds. So it might just give you that extra benefit of time to drop out of sight and come back to safety. So we'll probably leave it at that for this video. There's a lot of information to try and convey and for you to understand, so I don't want to overload you with detail. There will be more information coming out in different forms, but we'll look forward to you coming back to the channel in the future. And again, if you've got any specific comments about the content here, please feel free to leave comments in the chat below. Thank you.